to ask if another plumber could be found, but to do so would be to seem ungrateful for the hospitality. Patrick and Margaret were, after all, being housed and fed. 7, Margaret said of dinner. Patrick asked her if she had ever climbed a mountain. As he did so, he took her hand. He often took Margaret's hand, in public as well as in private. It meant, "I'm suddenly thinking of you." Though Patrick and Margaret had been together for 2 years, married 5 months, entire landscapes of their individual pasts were unknown to each other. Margaret told Patrick that she had once climbed Mount Monadnock, a lesser New England peak. Patrick said that he hadn't, being a city boy from Chicago. The smell of boiling horse meat made its way into the bedroom. It was an awful smell, and Margaret was certain she would never get used to it. The meat was for the dogs. "Do we need, instruction?" Margaret asked. "I'm sure Arthur will have it all in hand." The meat would be something James had purchased at the Duca earlier in the day, the blood soaking the Kenya Morning Tribune used to wrap it. It would not be any different from the beef Margaret bought for Patrick and herself. The steaks too fresh, not aged, and therefore tough, tasting of animal. "How tall is Mount Kenya?" 17,000 feet, give or take. "That's over 3 miles high."
We're already a mile above sea level just sitting here, and I think we probably gained some altitude driving to the mountain."
"So Kilimanjaro is higher?" Margaret asked.
"Higher, but easier. I think you simply walk to the top, in large circles. It takes a while, but most amateurs can handle it. It's supposed to be fairly boring."
Patrick changed out of his brown leather everyday shoes, which were covered with mud. If he left the shoes outside the door in the evening, they would be clean in the morning. "We don't walk?"
"We climb, we hike. Parts of it will be rough."
Margaret imagined Diana's Land Rover, packed with gear, journeying through the shimmering lime-green tea plantations she'd seen only from a distance. The guest room seemed to have been designed for a writer or a scholar. Margaret sometimes sat at the heavy carved desk, on which an antique typewriter had been placed. She tried it once, wincing at the hard thwacks the keys made, as if something delicate and tentative were being announced with a tattoo. The desk chair had carved arms and a nearly silver patina. On the walls were photographs of people she could not identify, a wooden shield that had perhaps been used in battle, and a sunburst design of spears. The books were leather-bound and uniform, and, to judge from their condition, often read. Margaret imagined an early settler, the books all there was available to him of the printed word in Nairobi, reading and rereading them by lantern light. She sometimes held one in her hands. On the other side of the room was a skirted dressing table, of the sort one used to see in old movies. On its glass surface were cut crystal jars with silver tops. Perhaps the room had belonged to Diana's parents when they built the house in the late 1940s. They'd come out from England after the war to try their hand with horses. Margaret picked up a picture of the couple, extravagantly dressed, looking as though they were about to head off to a party at the Muthaiga Club. The father's face was weathered. The mother had a small, sweet smile. Diana, as a child, would constantly have heard that she resembled her father. Margaret thought about the story of the young Maasai who had been invited by an American benefactor to use his wit and innate intelligence to make a go of it in New York City. 2 months after the young man's arrival, he jumped to his death from his 10th-story apartment window. She thought the Maasai's heart must have grieved for the Rift Valley, or that his senses had been violated by the city's gray geometry. The anecdote was meant to be a cautionary tale, though Margaret was never quite sure what exactly was being cautioned. One shouldn't be taken out of one's environment? Or if so, might one...